hydropower plant, part of the Kira Nalubali hydropower system, is operated by the Uganda Electricity Generation Company Limited.
And it's generating the biggest share of the national electricity grid currently. So it's fundamental that the health and the status and stability of this plant, it's important that it's stable so that we can have a stable electricity network.
The objective of this visit by the European Union heads of mission was to gain a deeper understanding of the power system and to discuss a potential support package for the rehabilitation of the 70-year-old Nalubali power plant.
The Nalubali-Kira hydropower complex is a critical element of Uganda's energy system, providing green, reliable electricity at what are currently the lowest costs in the country. There is a need now to invest in the rehabilitation and modernization of this critical infrastructure in order to ensure that it can continue its operations in the decades to come and fulfill its role in contributing to achieve Uganda's energy objectives.
The challenge and the target is to ensure that it's still there and remains as valuable an asset for the 70 years to come. And that's where we partner.
At the event, which was attended by the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, as well as the board and management of the Electricity Generation Company, discussions centered around a proposed €170 million support package were held.
So looking at the project ahead of us today, the Kira and Nalubala Phase 1 project, we at the EIB are looking to provide a loan of €65 million, and we're very grateful for the EU to also support this with a loan, a grant of €20 million. I'll leave the numbers of AFD to Mark later. But we're also, dear Minister, very happy to, in future, work with you if you are interested to work on the DRC-Uganda transmission line.
So this plant is very critical on the security and safety of the other plants downstream. So we need to maintain it. Whether we like it or not, we need to maintain it. The fact that the plant has the capacity, old as it is, its installed capacity right now, I think, is 380 megawatts, is that it is a critical plant.
This financing approach seeks to ensure the project's financial viability and maximize the impact of Team Europe's funding for Uganda's priority projects. In addition, the EU Homes team, traveling in a fully electric Kayola electric bus, toured the Kira Motors vehicle plant in Jinja district.
We have actually traveled the district. All our visits were made in the Kira Motors electric bus.
The ambassadors, led by Han Sadiq, the EU head of mission, obtained a comprehensive understanding of the company's goals and the strategic direction in the context of the African mobility landscape.
We have talked about Kira Motors' international relations, and if there are partnerships that could be made with European producers, some options have been mentioned, then that would be very important and exciting to explore, I think.
But also some of the finest design and engineering in the mobility space is actually incident from Europe. So we see a lot of, again, partnership to see how we design the most attractive, the most compelling vehicles, working with them. And also at the technology level, we see they have very mature technology in so many aspects of the vehicle, and we hope that we will partner with them on the product technology, but as well as the manufacturing technology. So the expanse of what can be done when we come together is immense.
Kira Motors is a state-owned company established with the aim of championing value addition to the nascent motor vehicle industry in Uganda. Maureen Babidie for UBC.
Moving on, a section of food vendors in Kampala's biggest taxi park have made an outcry to the Kampala Capital City Authority to help them settle back to business. This was after the demolition of food kiosks that are closer to the taxis due to fear of possible fires. We have the details.
I
feel like I'm losing my mind. Yesterday at around 9 a.m., we'd just set up shop. Then a group of people came and started messing up and pouring our food, disorganizing us, claiming they're KCCA officers. We were told to vacate, and those who resisted were arrested and taken to Central Police Station.
we are ensuring that anything that can cause a fatal accident in public spaces is mitigated. We started with enforcement exercises to make sure the upper part of the old taxi park is rid of fire or anything that can cause fire. We had restaurants here that had fireplaces that would easily cause accidents if that fire went onto a vehicle. We have a space near the parking at the mall where we still have fireplaces that are very close. Our enforcement teams are going to come and ensure that we clear up, as well as those people who are having sigiris or charcoal stoves within the market. But we are to support them as well by guiding them and making sure they have safe working spaces.
Away from that, energy transition is a focal point in global discussions on environmental protection and climate change. But the pressing question is, how informed is the average person about the complexities of energy transition and what it entails for effective implementation? Dennis Segor delves into the nuances of energy transition through the lens of Uganda and its economy.
Climate change is a reality that has implications on our way of life, the future of humanity.
Tulikimbia kukampu wakati maji yanakuja. Tunakimbia kukampu na sasa tuangalia kukampu. Na sasa hivi unaona sasa hivi natoka huko kwa maji huko naenda wapi kukampu.
Nyumba lizama kumai kule. Tena mimi nilikuwa mwenye kushona nguo, mashini yangu yote, kila kitu yangu yote lizama kumai. Miko tumie ile tu.
Humanity is faced with critical choices: panic, remain passive, or take decisive action to address challenges.
The people of Africa and people everywhere need action to respond to deadly climate extremes. First, we need far greater climate ambition, with countries hitting fast forward and massively accelerating action to limit temperature rises and impacts.
Uganda and the global community have pathways available to confront climate change. Energy transition is frequently indicated as a key solution. This transition compels assessment of the energy we utilize in daily life, how we produce, consume, and sustain ourselves.
What kind of energies are we using to go about these activities? It's that some of these energies come from non-renewable sources, and that some of these non-renewable sources then have a serious effect.
There is an urgent call, particularly from countries in the global north, for a swift transition away from fossil fuels to mitigate its hazardous impacts. This demand is often perceived as unjust by nations in the global south, which contributes only about 3% to global warming.
You realize we're talking to a region in East Africa that produces less than 0.2% greenhouse gas emission. Less than 0.2% in East Africa. How would you tell this region to decarbonize? It's like telling the fat kid in class to lose, the skinny kid in class to lose weight while the fat kids keep eating.
This accelerated push for transition places Uganda, a newcomer in the oil and gas sector, between a rock and a hard place.
If the brother countries work together, there is then the oil in Congo and South Sudan. This pipeline could turn out to be a very important project that may serve the region, not only in the short term, but also in the medium, if not the long term.
Apart from socio-economic benefits, the project will also stimulate trade, investment, as well as unlocking the East Africa's oil potential, thus attracting more investors.
And I've been telling everybody that Africa is not poor. We just lack some finances, but we are not poor. Uganda is not poor, and Uganda is open to friends. So the financing institutions must hear this as banks plan to pull out because of the narrative of fossil fuel. We are watching as Africa. We are opening doors.
Since the discovery of commercially viable oil in 2006 and the subsequent launch of Uganda's oil project, the initiative has undergone thorough environmental and social impact assessments, all of which has affirmed its compliance with the necessary standards.
We've been able to benchmark and we've been able to make corrections from the mistakes that other countries have done. So for us, we are happy, we are moving slowly, but we shall arrive without casualties.
Moreover, the Ugandan government has clear plans for energy transition.
We will optimize and use all our renewable energy resources. By adding Karuma to the national grid, we see our clean energy electricity increasing to 93% of our energy mix. So that speaks again to greening. Greening, net zero commitment by the government of Uganda to ensure that we are achieving our nationally determined contributions as committed at COP28, but also under the UNFCCC protocols. So we are on track.
The energy transition agenda charts a course toward sustainable energy sources while ensuring broad stakeholder participation in this journey.
With escalating costs of charcoal and electricity, a higher purchase plan for gas is a very welcome venture.
By reducing the number of vehicles using fuel in terms of petrol and diesel, to replace them with some which are using power in terms of electricity, will also curb down the level of environmental pollution for the operators of the taxis. We expect that the cost is much likely to go down.
Wow, fantastic. That means 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
Deforestation places communities at risk of landslides, of floods and of drought. So really this is the moment. This is the moment where all of the things come together. The electricity, the renewable electricity here in Uganda, together with all of those, the technology, as well as the cost savings, to make a phenomenal difference.
Adoption is not something that comes like thunder. It is a process for people to adapt the change from one system to the other.
The introduction of innovative appliances like the electric pressure cooker has transformed the way food is cooked at home, making meal preparation faster and more energy efficient and convenient.
From the time we got the EPC, previously we used to use like 2 bags of charcoal in a month, and each bag of charcoal was for 60,000, that is 120 in a month. But now with the EPC, we still have charcoal, but we use it for other things like smoking meat and doing other things, not cooking. And so our consumption for charcoal has reduced. We now use 1 bag in 4 months.
This multifaceted approach is underpinned by Uganda's commitment to a just transition.
We are now able to diversify our energy mix. We are going to now start bringing on board other alternative energy sources. We are looking to deploy our geothermal potential of 1,500 megawatts. We will deploy nuclear for purposes of energy security, and of course maximize our solar, because we are at the equator. We have an opportunity to boast of enormous solar potential.
But there are emerging protests led by youthful activists against oil and gas projects in Kampala City. This has drawn mixed reactions from various stakeholders.
We are talking about a transition. It should be a transition from fossil fuel subsidizes to a renewable energy, not from a renewable energy to fossil fuel subsidizes. Hope you understand. No, this is my message. This is my message.
And that's where the whole issue around is, what do we do with the oil which is dirty? Should we not touch it? But to transition from where we are to the promised land, where we want to be, it can't be abrupt. It must be carefully planned. That you just can't, for example, today you stand up and say, we are not going to touch oil. But if you don't touch it, you won't get resources that can help you actually invest in areas that can provide clean energy.
Transition in the developed world is actually different from transition in undeveloped countries. So we are saying that as Ugandans, how do we transit within our dynamics?
In relation to the oil and gas sector, Uganda has based its actions on thorough research, including risk assessments, mitigation strategies, and considerations regarding asset stranding.
Issues related to stranded assets is very key in the development of our country in the oil and gas sector. So we're looking at different scenarios. What if this happens? What if, for example, there's some slight price reduction in the crude oil? What if maybe this is not affordable?
We expect that this sector should really support our economic and social transformation. And so we are investing a lot of money there. And the reason why, as researchers, as a university, we want to be able to contribute to this debate is because we want to lend our voice, to decision making, to policy making, by generating some evidence about how this energy transition, the global energy transition, is not a Ugandan energy transition, but the global energy transition towards renewables might affect our investments.
It is widely acknowledged that oil and gas ventures carry inherent risks, particularly for Uganda, which is navigating these waters amid a global shift towards green alternatives.
So every country, even when you invest in the oil and gas, the fact that it's a global, most of the things are determined by the globe. For example, the price, you cannot anticipate correctly or exactly what the price would be, but it also has other risks, because we know that as a country we are at a point where we are producing our oil at a point where other countries are transitioning from fossil fuels. So that also presents a risk, because as a country we have invested in oil and gas, but what if we do not get back the revenues that we have anticipated as a country?
Analysts suggest that fossil fuels will play a significant role globally, with rising demand reaffirming the market's viability.
Other countries have moved stages. They've moved quite steps ahead. They're moving away from use of fossil fuels, for example, Norway. But there's so many, the majority of the countries still have a long way to go. To completely go off.
Oil and gas is pretty much still a very important factor in Uganda's energy mix. We shall still continue to see a growth in the consumption, in the demand of petroleum products within the short, medium, and even long term, within the visibility of what we can see until at least up to 2060. We are likely to continue seeing a growth in petroleum products.
Despite this optimism, perceived risks loom large.
Given all that is happening, when we see banks pulling out and other financials as well, how do we prepare ourselves? Can we make some real serious analysis and modeling to see whether there is a risk, and how can we plan for it?
Energy transition involves identifying how to enhance the efficiency of technologies, broaden support, innovate financing models for affordability and accessibility, and enact policies that facilitate its adoption.
It's not a choice. It is no longer a choice. It is a mandate. It is an obligation for countries to go green. It is not a choice. Those who are still thinking about our traditional way of cooking, matoke, it's not a choice if you want to survive.
The biggest challenge we have is that this transition is too costly. To an ordinary person, what does it cost to put up a solar panel for one bulb? It's almost $500,000. Just one bulb. But that bulb won't help you to do bigger things like You want to put up a fridge, you want to have a TV in your home to get information from government from everywhere. You want to iron your clothes, you want to do fumigation. You can't do all that. Just one bulb for lighting. More than 500,000. So what does it take to build a dam? Billions of money. What does it take to set up a solar program that can power 1 million households? Huge, huge amount of money. So it is so expensive.
Green is inevitable because the other resources are not only going to be extinct at a certain point in time, but also place a very serious burden on the environment in which we derive meaning. So for responsible consumption, securing the needs of today while guaranteeing the needs of the future generations, we are committed to delivering not on electric cars, but even when you do a diesel bus, still you've made a massive step in the right direction, because one clean diesel bus still is more environmentally friendly than using so many smaller vehicles.
The message is clear: humanity has to transition to clean or green energy. However, the challenge that lies ahead is how to ensure a just transition, particularly for countries like Uganda that contribute the least to climate change but yet suffer its worst impacts. Dennis Igoa for the Business Roundup.
On the continental scene, the Malian government has halted the export of essential agricultural products in a bid to strengthen local processing industries. The government has halted the export of several essential agricultural products such as shea nuts, peanuts, soybeans and sesame.
In a country where agriculture is the heartbeat of the economy, Mali's farmers are used to sending tons of produce overseas, feeding markets beyond Africa's borders. But now, the government has halted the export of several essential agricultural products such as shea nuts, peanuts, soybeans and sesame. The suspension was introduced by an interministerial decree on October 3rd, signaling a new era for Malian agriculture. Others, however, argue that the decision was unilateral and abrupt.
The ban has caused us a lot of problems and we have lost a lot of money. By the time the export ban was issued, we had trucks heading to the border. If we don't sell these peanuts outside the country, it will be difficult to do so here in Mali.
I think the authorities should have consulted manufacturers and exporters to properly assess the impact and issues of these four agricultural sectors before suspending exports. This decision will have a huge impact because they are the four main sensitive sectors in Mali. You know, in Mali we have nothing to export except gold, cotton and these four sectors whose exports have been suspended.
The decree took effect immediately, but the duration of the suspension is not specified. Industry players say this is part of a strategy to bring economic independence in the West African country.
These are preventive measures to reinforce food safety at national level. I think that this ban will enable local businesses to have sufficient stock for their activities. This will boost local production, given that
I want to make a clarification that we don't intend to abolish the functions of UCDA. We are actually maintaining the functions of UCDA, but in a streamlined manner in a department like we have done for any other agency. We also note we don't intend to lay off core subject matter specialists, those who are competent, that are doing regulatory roles of UCDA as mandated by government. We are only shading off duplicated staff like procurement. We are taking off the board. And it is the view of government that this money should be saved and put into service delivery of the citizens.
In the heart of Luzira, a community once burdened by the shadows of neglect and disease is witnessing remarkable transformation. Uganda Breweries Limited and the residents of the Port Bell landing site have joined efforts in a spirited cleanup initiative, one where stewardship and public health go hand in hand. We have this in our Sounds of Business.
The lake shores of Port Bell, but as you've seen, the situation here is really pathetic. It's really deplorable. It's bad. It is filthy. It is ghastly because the garbage is all over, the dirt is all over, the polythene bags are all over, the plastic bottles are all over. So it's really bad. But this can be worked on. We can get out of this pathetic situation. How? We need more garbage trucks to keep on constantly collecting this garbage as it is generated every now and then.
Today we shall leave Luzira Port Bell cleaner than we have left it, than we found it. Okay? That is my message. So to the message out there, please let's protect the environment, let's protect the lake, because the lake is our major source of water, majorly in Kampala.
The heated debate regarding the rationalization of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority back to the Mother Ministry of Agriculture left tongues wagging and controversies arose about the future of the coffee growers in the country. The National Coffee Amendment Bill 2024 awaits the Bills Committee stage when Parliament returns. By the look of things, the future of Uganda's coffee sector lies with the anticipated new legislation. From the entire production, it's a goodbye for now.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Blascon, paint and win. This year, Blascon, paint and win. The Kuku Roundy. Chicho, buy paint worth 100K. Get a scratch card. SMS the code 27197. Stand a chance to win instant airtime, 1 million shillings bully day there, or a share of a 3 million shillings jackpot each week. What do you want the brand new Boda Bodas, tuk-tuks, and so much more? Catch the paint and win action every Monday on Bukede One, NBS, and Sanyuka TV. Blascon, color your world.
Amazina ganje inyetekwa Seruhanga John Bosco ninduga mu district ya Rukungiri ndio muhanguzi wa miliyoni 18 na Uganda National Rotary nzahangwire urwo mu kuzana star 278 hash ngafuna message eriko mu muhanguzi nashemererwa konka nabaza kugira ngo neri y'abafere sente ziriyo zona bakaziteka ko nazihangwira.
Uganda National Lottery. Dream, play, win.
Participants must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. The Uganda National Lottery is operated by Ituba Uganda and regulated by the National Lotteries and Gaming Regulatory Board.
the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We were once left out, saving the old-fashioned way, with an unexpected saving spot, keeping it too close for comfort. But now, we found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Visit your Google Play or App Store or dial *229# to register. Wendy, Wanawoli.
Brand Ambassadors 256 present